Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for 18 Holes, a golf game. So if you're interested in playing golf, this is a great, interesting way to play it with lots of hex tiles and cards. Instead of like knocking balls and stuff around, there have been various different. Now, if this sounds familiar, I have done a video on this before. I'm just going to do a review on it because the expansion came out, so this is an updated version. I'm going to re-go over all the rules, and then we're going to jump in. Then we'll do a second video with the expansion. So what is 18 holes? So basically what it is you are going to have a set of club cards that you're going to use. They'll determine what type of deck and what type of shots you're using. You're going to play on all these different hex tiles with all the different components. There are a bunch of different ways to play this game. This rulebook has a lot of very good descriptions explaining what all the different cards are. Course tiles, golfer cards, all this other different stuff, all these different markers. But essentially, here's a quick layout of what one of the boards are going to look like when you're done playing them. You'll have your tee box, you'll have different fairways built up, and then you'll have your hole. And you're trying to play, a set number of cards. This is like par 4. So you want to play X number, as many cards as you can to try and get to the hole, while avoiding trees and bunkers and ponds and various other hazards. It represents golf very well. So this setup is you're going to build your course. There's a bunch of different books. Course book that actually shows how to do it, as well as on the website for the game, which is, I think it's 18holes.com. I have to double check. Probably I'll check by the end of the video. They do have a course maker you can do. You also just select your golfer. You should have different abilities. You have an A side and a B side, which will give you either easier or harder difficulties. Then the drafting the clubs is played in two different ways. Either you do an actual drafting, which is everyone gets to have a set of hands. You pick out one club and you pass them around, then everybody, and eventually you form your bag full of clubs. Or they have letters on the bottom, so you can just start with set numbers, which is maybe a good way to start the first couple of times to get the game going. But yeah, so there's a lot of rules in here. But for how to play, but it's actually fairly easy. So you're gonna start off by picking your clubs. So you can reset your empty hand, select your dealer clubs, and then determine the play order. On your turn, you have several actions. You can move one hex, play a club, attempt a big hit, exit a bunker, or reset your hand. And then you discard your club, and then reaching the green, you score flags, score hole-in-ones, move to the next player, and remove hazards. So we're just going to kind of go through these step by step. So resetting your empty hands. If you have no clubs in your hand, you draw all your discarded clubs back to your hand. So you can only play a club one at a time. So you have to kind of be picky and choosy on what you want to do. If you have a club in your hand you can't use, such as you have a driver, which means you have to be on the tee box to play it, you can choose not to do that. You may reset your hand. And then it'll keep mentioning here if you have certain characters that have different abilities. So each player selects one club, places it face down. So this is what club you think you're going to use. Top corner of every club will have a number, which is your initiative, who gets to go first. Lowest number goes first, and then the highest. So it's just kind of whoever has the options. It's unlike regular golf where it's, whoever's, closest or furthest away gets to go first. It's this initiative number. So it does kind of help you play certain cards to a game aspect that way. Then on your actual turn, you decide what to do. You can either always move one hex. So if you don't have a club that's going to work for what you want, you don't think you're going to have enough, you can always just move one hex no matter what. So basically like a little nudge shot. You can play a club card, which lets you draw from the card pile to determine what you're going to hit. And we'll kind of go over them when we actually look at the cards. You can also attempt to do a big hit. Sometimes you can go with your club, which will let you draw higher cards, which will show in the top of your corner whether you're allowed to do a big hit. When you draw your card. So when you do a big hit, your opponents kind of get to choose what you do. So it's a gamble, but it lets you do something different. And then you get to try and exit bunkers. Each card will have a little thing that says if you're stuck in a bunker, how you can try and get out of them. Unless you have a wedge card, which will let you get out of bunkers easier by doing chip shots. There's a couple different stuff there. May reset your hand. You may choose not to hit a ball and reset your hand. Turn out your discard clubs. And then discard your club. At the end of your turn, place the club in your discard pile. If you play a card, it's a different thing. And then reaching the green. Scoring flag. If a player reaches the green, they take the flag. If multiple players reach the green, then the player takes the flag and the other take the 1 point. So basically what you want to do is try and get the flags and everyone else gets point scores. And this is how you determine who actually wins. So whoever gets there first gets the goal. So in the expansion, which we'll do the second video, they added putting in there, which adds then a new element to the game. But if you're not playing with the expansion, that's just whoever gets to the hole first. If you score a hole in one, you get an extra point token for that. So if you get it in one shot, which sometimes it's possible, move the next hole and remove any hazard effects. Any players that miss the turns or out of waters have this status removed. Then, at the end of the course, each player counts the number of flags and 1 point tokens out of each flag. And token is worth 1 point. The player with the most points wins. Just basically how it is. You're just trying to compete to who gets the most points. It's as simple as that. So the rulebook will go through all this other different stuff, doing all these other different cards, all the different types. And then explains all the abilities of all the characters a little bit better. And then it's all these different multiple ways to play. So there's a bunch of different ways. You have Chaos Golf, Team Golf, Golf Racing, Tally Golf, Sting, Solo, Stableford, and Stroke Play. It's just different other modes if you just want to, like, who can hit the fastest, and get rid of some of the points about not having to, like, try and go for, like, one hole to the other. They have Team Golf. It's just a lot of different other things you can do using the same game, as well as a solo mode. Just kind of interesting. There's special cards for that. And I'm not going to go through all of this. I just want to give a brief explanation. I'll spend 10 minutes. And then here's the course book, which will then lay out. So here's how the courses work. So here's all your different tiles that you will have. For the donut sands, 18 holes. The little green dots are going to tell you where your hole numbers are, so where to place your flags on each hole. And the red areas are the direction the tile should be based. And there's little stands here. You can do QR codes to get different views of this. Which tiles are actually used. Adjustment tiles you can place down. It's a bunch of other different stuff, and there's a ton of different ones of these. So, like, here's a starter course they recommend playing, just, good 5-hole game. And then there's the Glen, which has a lot bigger one, and they go through all these different styles. And they're always adding more because people are creating more. Some Pebble Fields. Spiral Fields, Chaos Pines. And there's some quick course setups as well. Alright, so that's all the different stuff there. But we want to actually jump into the interesting stuff. So we're going to hop into the characters and the cards, the content for the game. Alright, so let's look at our golfers first, since that's the first thing you'll select. Alright, so our first golfer here is we have Iron Jane. So she has a side A down here. It says, Can only carry irons. Selects clubs before draft. So if you're playing the draft as opposed to just handing out the numbers, or the lettered clubs like the sets that are already pre-made, she can only use irons, but she gets to pick out her cards before the draft, so she gets an advantage that way. But she can only use specific clubs. I would recommend the first, second time playing the game, don't use the player cards. Use the pre-made clubs. Then when you have familiar with how the game's played, then add the some of the golfers in. Then maybe start doing the draft like after the fourth or fifth time playing. Just so you have an idea of how the game works before you try and figure out what the clubs do. So then her B side, she can still only carry irons, but she can only have 4 clubs and she can't have duplicates. So it makes her a little bit harder. We have Slick Rashik. May borrow a club from another player once per hole. So you can use one of the other player's clubs. And again, the book will describe these in a little bit better detail. Can use any discarded club, may only carry 1 club. So this one gets him a little bit of a twist. You only get to pick 1 club that you get to use. But you can use any of the previous clubs used. Slugger. Must carry the driver, but the driver never expires, so unless you have to discard your hand to refresh, he's always going to have that driver in his hand. So this is must carry the driver, must use driver or woods on tees. So it dictates he has to use one of the most powerful clubs to start with no matter what. He doesn't have an option. We have Lucky, may redraw a shot card once per hand. Or may redraw a shot card once per hole. Discard 1 club when you do. So it gets you an extra little difference there. Swift, -1 initiative on all shots, wins tie breaks. So that you try and go quicker. Then the opposite side, you just lose. Again, the B sides are meant to be a little bit harder. Bungel. May look at the top card of one deck, keep it for the next shot, or return it face up, and then everyone else can see what it is. Or may look at the top of a deck once per hole. The Shark. Treat water hazards as rough and may not carry any wedges. Normally if you hit it in water, you lose a turn. But you can't use wedges, so if you get stuck in a bunker, or whatever, it's harder to get out. Then just treats water hazards as rough. And then finally we have Dorian. 1 club never expires. May not reset clubs mid-hole. So he always has 1 club that he can keep using over and over and over, but he can't get rid of his hand unless everything is emptied. And then clubs never expire, but he only gets 3 of them. So he only has 3 clubs to ever choose from. So those are the different golfers. Let's look at our clubs. Alright, so on the back, it's just going to say 18 holes. And then the bottom corner here, it's going to have the ace. This is an A set. Up at the top has an initiative of 22. And the little ball there's for this big hit. So this is an 8 wood. So the woods, each type of club kind of works the same way. Woods let you move. So this will let you move 2 hexes or 1 hex if you're in the rough. So woods are nice for if you just, like, hey, I only need to move a little bit. They just let you move without having to, like, pick directions and angles and stuff. Otherwise, the rest of the clubs usually work something more like this. So the 6 iron has an initiative of 12. It says draw and play 1 card from either of the decks shown above. So you get to pick either a 2 or 3. So basically what that means is a 2 or 3 means you either move 2 spaces or you move 3 spaces. But you don't know if it's going to be 2 spaces like up and to the right, up and to the left, or straight forward. So you could get, so you're kind of not sure which direction it's going to like angle, is basically what it is. So that's kind of your, figure out what way works the best when you're playing through cards. And so what I mean by that, I'm going to pause this for a second. So if we're setting up a board here, and I am hitting, I'm going to grab one of these cards, one of the deck cards here, just so we know what we're talking about when we're going through all these. So if my golfer is on this last tile right here, and I'd like to hit it preferably straight forward. If I draw one of these 2 cards, and this is one of the, so I draw a 2 card, and this is the one I draw. Now, here's where my golfer is. I have to hit it up 1 square, and then I have to hit it over to the left. So if my guy was here, my ball would land on the trees over here. If I was already in the rough, then I would instead, I'd go 1, 2 that way. So it'd be, if I was in the rough here, it would go, 1, 2 this direction. So it's just basically this is showing you where your ball has to land. But when you first start off, before you even draw one of your cards, you have to pick what direction. So I can pick to choose straight, or I could be like, alright, there's a chance that I could either hit it straight with a 2 or a 3, or it might curve to the direction. So I could pick to aim this direction. So if I did that, then my ball would go like this. So then I'd be hitting 1, 2, and it would land there. But that's also where you could run into an issue, is if I picked that direction. So if I aimed this way, and then I drew a straight line, now I'm hitting it 1, 2, and I'm hitting it out of bounds. Although granted, on some of the courses, there might be more tiles around here. It might not just be a straight one. Sometimes there might be. You might have to hit it into a tree. So it's basically, you're not really sure. It's always a kind of a gamble on which way you're going to hit it. But that's sort of what makes it fun. So, alright, there's my tiles. Now we'll jump back and we can look at these cards now that we got an idea of what I'm talking about. Alright, so then we're going to have a pitching wedge, which lets you draw 2 chip cards and play 1. So this lets you pick up 2 and you get to choose which one you'd like to play as. Irons lets you draw between 3 and 4. Or at least a 4 iron does. The 2 iron lets you draw between decks 4 and 5. Basically, the longer the hits are. So now this is for set D. I don't know why D I had next. But it also has 3+. So if you're only playing a 1 or 2 player game, you'll take some of these cards out during the draft. And the same thing, there's some that will say +5. And you'll take them out if you're only playing a 3 or 4 player game. Just that way you have less clubs to choose from. So this is a 9 or a 4 iron, there's a 3 and 4. So lots of these are going to be the same thing. 7 iron lets you choose between a chip and a 3. The 8 iron lets you draw 2 from the 2 deck. And there's going to be some that we've already maybe seen. 8 iron, they may have different card effects or a different initiative number. So the sandwich here only lets you draw chip cards. But chip cards only go 1 space. But they're usually meant for getting out of bunkers. So this lets you treat a bunker as a rough. So it lets you get out of the rough easier. We have a 3 iron. An 8 iron. I'm not going to read all the different stuff. A 7. A 5. A 3 wood. Now this is, again, the wood lets you move hexes. Bigger wood lets you move more spaces. The 9 iron. The 2 iron. We have a lob wedge. So this one you do not clear a direction before playing the lob wedge. This lets you basically hit for free in any direction. 5 iron. So we have some hybrids here. Only lets you play a 2, but says there's no penalty from hitting from the rough. So you're forced to hit it that direction, but you get hit from the rough for free without having to lose any space. 9 iron, then another pitching wedge, 6 iron, a 5 wood, 3 iron, we have the driver, which lets you choose between 2 5 cards. These are really good for hitting off like a tee. But it says may only be used in the tee box. So after that, it just sits in your hand. We have a 3 hybrid, another driver, an 8 wood, hybrid, 5 wood, 5 hybrid, 3 wood, 5 hybrid, and 3 hybrid. So those are different clubs. Most of them don't repeat until they get to the 5+. Then they have a couple that do kind of duplicate over. Then if we look at all our different cards, so they're going to be separated into yellow 5s, red 4s, purple 3s, blue 2s, and chip shots, which are kind of like a greenish color. And we're going to get some watches are going to be very slim. So there's a C for chip. A little angle up here is going to show what direction it goes, so you can tell right away. So basically this hits one space over. So it's not one direct space forward. It's up and over to the left. But it hits around whatever would be in that spot. And then here's also showing on the bottom of every card is if you're in a bunker, this is what direction it hits out of the bunker. So you can also basically use any card as a free out of the bunker shot. So we're going to get, now even though these are all the same thing, like this one has a straight bunker, this other one has a right bunker. So even though the rest of the card is the same, sometimes you'll get the bunker symbols will be different. Otherwise we got 3 copies there, and then we got a bunch of straight chip shots as well. Our 2s. So again, it'll go 1, 2, or it'll go 1, 2. Wedge hits a little bit. Well, it basically goes 1 there. It just hits a little bit less. But yeah, they're gonna multiple copies of ones that hit it to the right, a bunch that hit it to the straight. With the symbol there showing basically a 2 as you can't hit it out of the bunker on some of these straight ones. And then we have some to the left. Then all the bigger decks will also have a shuffle card. So shuffle this deck. This is not do not include this card. So this will let you shuffle the deck back up if it runs out. And then there's also super hit cards. Discard this card and draw a card from the third deck. So basically this is saying you overhit. You're trying to do a 2 and you hit it a little bit too hard. Now you have to play a 3 card instead. And they'll have those cards as well. So then we'll get our 3s. So I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly because lots of them are basically the same. So we got different directions with them different bunker symbols. You can get some like this. It'll let you hit either direction. So you can go 1, 2, and then either direction. We have a super hit. We have a shuffle. And then we also get short, which forces you to draw from the deck below. So them shorts and them super hits kind of also make this game a little fun. Because it's like golf. Like, you know, you're never going to always hit it 100% perfect exactly where you want it. So that's why the whole thing where you choose which angle or direction you're going to hit it. And then you draw one of your cards. Knowing that it's going to go straight at least that many, then it either could go straight the 4th time. So if like I drew a 4, I know I'm going to go 3 spots forward, and then I'm either going to go left, right, or straight. So I know I can kind of plan my shot that way, but I gotta pick it before I draw my cards. So I know I'm going to get one of those. It gives you just a little bit of, you got an idea of how you can do it, but you can't 100% guarantee where it's going to land. And then grabbing these shorts and super hits can kind of mess it up as well. Alright, then we have our 5s, which are just going to be even longer shots. So we just kind of flop through all these really fast. So now playing a 5 when you're playing like a par 3 might not be the best. You might first hit, maybe, might get a hole in one. After that, you might not. So now with the 5s, there's only a short, much like the 2s, there's no short, there's only a super hit. Because you can't go up anymore, and the other one you can't go down. There's a shuffle, but there's also a special longish drive card. You move 6 hexes in a straight line, and you keep this card for showing that you hit the longest. This is great for driving. So those are different shot cards. So the other types of cards there are, before we look at the tiles, which we'll jump into, are the solo cards. So basically how the solo cards are going to work is they're going to have different circles on there. So what you're doing is you're playing against 3 other computer players. I'm just going to explain these rules super briefly, is that they can shuffle different clubs. When you get these 2 symbols like this, the little light green one's you, the red one's your opponent. Basically what happens is you get to play and try and score a goal. And then what they do is they compare your initiative club. If they win the initiative, that means they win the hole and they get a point. So basically you're trying to score your goals, but when they get a chance to play, they just essentially play a club, and if their club is better than yours, then they get a win. So it's kind of just a little tricky thing like that. And then the cost up here is the difficulty. So 34 is a lot harder, because this means all 3 of these rounds the opponent gets to play. You can get some of these that are easier, where you get to play 3 times in a row before the opponent goes. So you have a lot better chance of scoring a goal. Then there's some that are in the middle, like 19, which means both players go, you go, then both players go. And that's just the little flags on the bottom are just showing our player scoring. Whatever, there's the number represents how many of those different circles there are. So there's just multiples of each of these with various initiatives or difficulty numbers. So basically, the more times you get to play, the lower the difficulty is. The more times the opponents go, the higher the difficulty. And you just kind of adjust it. But it's not maybe the best way to play, but at least it's neat that they did find a way to include a solo mode. I'll maybe have to play a game and do a video to really explain it a little bit better. But yeah, at least it's a different addition to the game. Alright, let's look at the rest of the components now, which are all the tiles. Oh, we missed a chip shot card in here. So we had shuffle, super hit, and alternate direction for chip shot as well. They just got stuck to the bottom. So the other things we're going to get in here is we are going to get a bunch of tokens. So you're going to have all of these different point tokens, which all have 5s, and then they'll have the numbers on the back. So like this is for hole number 7, it's worth 5 points. So if you're playing a game where you're trying to earn number of points, it's basically, hey, I can earn 5 points if I score on that hole. You're going to have the same thing with 1s and 2s. And this is essentially, so it's like, whoever gets the flag gets the flag. They get the most points, and then you can count your points down from there. So you could earn their 5 points for getting second, or 3rd place gets 2, 4th place gets 1, last player gets nothing. And it just kind of each one ties to one of the 18 holes. And that's how you can keep track of who's getting certain points. We have a bunch of hole-in-one tokens. So it just shows the... Oh, you shoot it right in the spot. This again just keeps track of your points for those. We have all the flags, all 18 holes, as well as little stands for them. Just so you can stand them all up so you can see where your holes are. I'm not going to take all of them out. We do have little trees here that you can put up. So it's sliding and make little 3D trees. So we can grab 2 of the correct pieces out at once. So yeah, you just make little 3D trees, and then when you're playing on one of your boards that has a fence with trees around it, you can actually set a tree on there. So that way you have a visual representation that on this course, I can't hit this direction. I have to go around because there's actually a physical tree in my way. Now, the game only includes 14 trees. So if you're playing 18 courses, or depending on the size of the course, you might have to keep moving your trees around. And then we have little gopher meeples, just to keep track of your gopher on the board, so you know where your character's at. So you land, where you're shooting from. That's the base of all them components. Then we're going to look at the actual tiles. So there's a couple different things to pay attention on here. So of course there's 4 par, which is how many shots you have to get to that hole. There's a little star down here, so you're going to show the difficulty. The arrow is showing the direction the tile is supposed to go. So we're looking at that course book. We're looking at that course book, and it was telling us, what direction they had to go. That's just showing you, because sometimes you might have, so you're not going to always have them this way. Sometimes you might have it turn this way or that direction. And then the part where it says the tee box. So I just want to look at that quick. So it says, take the top tile of the tee box and stack it place up on the table. This is the first tile on the tee. There are 2 pieces of information. The first is par for scoring using Stableford and some of the other things. The second is how many additional tiles the hole needs. This is labeled as no tiles, 1 tile, or 2. If it says no tiles, skip straight to the green section. So it's just telling you how many other tiles you have to place down. Yeah, so there's just a little bit different stuff there. So it just has to do with building for the rules if you're placing other tiles down on here. So this is saying for this particular thing, since it has both things, I don't need to play anymore to make this a full set. But if I look at this one, it's going to say par 4 has 1 tile. I have to play 1 other tile because I need something that has a hole in it, because there's no hole on there. So that's all that's just saying. It's just saying essentially how many tiles you're going to need to play to make a hole. The other thing on there, there'll be a little flag in the one corner, which will show that it has a T on it. You're also going to get some with a forest icon or a tree. That's just showing it's one of the greens. I think those were the... it's also showing it has a... this also is a green. There's actually one that just has... There you go. Just the T mark has... This is just a T spot. Because it has the little ball on there. So there's 3 different ones. And then the stars are basically just saying the difficulty. So although you have to shoot around the trees, this one isn't too hard. Because it's a 4 par to get 4 squares. But some of the other ones can get a little bit more difficult because maybe you have to shoot around a tree. I was trying to see if I had one right off the top here. There's like a 3-star. Of course I don't, because I want one, so I'm not going to have one. Yeah, so like this one here is a 3-star because although it's a par 4, you have to hit to a different tile and you have to angle it right around that tree. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to play because you don't know what direction it's going to go after that. And then, so any of the fences with trees are have actual trees. There might be trees on other tiles, but you just ignore them. You only put the trees in the ones with fences. You can't hit through a tree, obviously. Then everyone also has a backside. So the backsides have different star modes. Can have some have T spots, some don't. This one has a T and a hole as well. Also has some lakes in here. Water hazards. So if you hit in a water hazard, you lose a turn. And then let's just kind of fly through some of the rest of these. So we're going to have like this one, and then they all have their numbers, 13A and then 13B. So this is a little bit harder because now you have to circle all the way around this tree. Now you could opt to try and shoot it around this way and go over the pond, but you have to worry about hitting it in the lake then. And then like this one again, a little bit harder. So you have to go all the way around, or you could try and shoot, but this one you're also shooting off the course from a different part. And there's our different bunkers. I love just the also little artwork on all these. Like, they could have just made these all blank tiles. Like, oh, here's a picture of a tree. There's a flag. But they made it look nice and lively and energetic with different stuff on there. So some of these are just straight, which are really nice. So if you stay on the green, or on the fairway, which is the green, light green part here, those are your nice easy shots. Anything outside of that's considered the rough. This one could be a pain to hit into because you lose a green spot there. You have a bigger, or a fairway, but you have a bigger green there, but you have all this bunker you have to worry about overshooting into. Not too bad because the trees are on the side, but they could cause a problem. And there'd be a lot of stuff that are very similar. I mean, you only have so many different options on this stuff to do. Like, that one's going to suck because it's easy once you can kind of get in there, but if you overshoot it anywhere, and the same thing, that's the opposite direction. So there are a lot of tiles here. So there's, I think, like 50 tiles, 49 tiles. So there's plenty of different options. There's a little alligator or crocodile up there. Multiple trees, circle around. And, you know, what really makes the course is because you're eventually going to, like, add all of these together. So it's not just like playing 3 hexes in a row straight to the tile. You might have, you know, one down here and one up here and one over here. So you might be able to hit it off onto something else. As long as you don't hit it out of bounds. Oh, that one's upside down. Not that it makes a big of a difference. Kind of fly through these a little quicker. This one I like because it's circled all around. Just a fun, different pattern. Like this one has no fairway until you get to the next tile. Here has a clubhouse on here. You don't want to hit the clubhouse. A sandbox, a castle. Some of the flags are knocked over, which are kind of fun. Ooh. It's like this one has a hazard right in the middle. Kind of sucks. This one, yeah, you have to hit around, but there's also no fairway to land on. So unless you can somehow arch it all the way around and go up, or you can hit it onto a, or if the course angled all the way around. So if like the course went just like this one on top, which it claims it needs a second tile in there. But if it doesn't angle like back, it could angle back around this way. You might be able to hit it straight over off to the side. But you also could get unlucky and have it, you know, go the other direction. That's what can make this very crazy. Because of course you can make your own, after you play this, you can just make your own tiles if you want. That's half of the fun of this. They'll sit on here one direction, but they won't sit on the other way. So we're about halfway through the tiles right now. But it's just all different pars, different designs. Get some that are fun like this, where they'll, like, you can see how they're going to kind of link into each other. It's not like this are the par 3s. Now the par part, again, has to do with, like, one specific game mode. Just playing the basic part, you don't really have to pay attention to par. You're just trying to get there. But with this one, you're going to want to hit, like, a 2. So you're going to hopefully, like the thing is, if you hit a 2 straight forward, it's going to go 1 into the left. So you're almost going to have to angle it a little bit. But again, you can always move one tile for free as well. So some of that can make a difference. That free extra movement every turn. Not, I shouldn't say free. That you can move one every time without having to play a club. So if you only have higher clubs, you can always at least gain some movement. Let's get some different ones like that, which can make some interesting different holes when they're next to each other like that. The other thing is, ooh, I love this tile. Like, I love these empty ones, are really fun. So the other thing there is as well are adjustment tiles, which are just single hexes, which you can play on the boards to kind of correct some of the spots or change some of them. So there are 7 of each of the 3 different ones. There are 7 trees, 7 ponds, and 7 bunkers. And then on the opposite of each one is a blank one. So that lets you, get rid of some of the hazards by putting blank ones out, or you can add more hazards in. So it also just lets you kind of tweak something. It's like this one here, you could put a tree in the middle if you wanted, which forces people then to hit around it. Or for like this one, if you want to make this particular tile easier, you could put a blank one on there covering up the trees so that someone doesn't have to hit around it. Or cover up this tree and basically be like, you can either hit around or make that a bunker, like a double bunker. Yeah, so plenty of different options there. Like these where they just stop on the side. I would have liked if some of the back ones had added extra fairway. That would have been kind of neat too, so then you could kind of like maybe extend your fairway around with a couple of different tiles. There's 3 different holes on there. So one from this one, and then one that can come from the bottom. This has a whirlpool, which is really fun. I like this hole starts here, and then I'm guessing ends there. Alright, we have one more stack of tiles to go. But yeah, if they would add extra fairway cards, which would have been kind of neat. Because then you could have, like, taken some of these and, like, extended them other directions. We're going to flip that one over. Like, maybe an example would have been like this one. Like, maybe you could have had a fairway that, like, went down. And then you could have had one that comes out, so you could have made this wrap all the way around. Should have been interesting to have it come off a different side. But they didn't do that, so... Oops. But maybe if they release a 3rd expansion, maybe that's something they can add in there, more adjustment tiles. Or you could probably print off your own. Alright, got a handful more. We got another blank one there. Bunch of trees. Another little alligator. Yes, again, I give big credits to the artwork on these, because again, they could have just left all these blank green tiles with, green lines, and like, even like the hole shapes are always different. The ponds always look a little bit different. The trees and the bunker look different. Like, yeah, they reutilize a lot of the different stuff over and over, which is understandable. But I mean, they put little bushes and stuff on some of these other spots. This one's definitely fun. There's a Loch Ness and a big... I wish they had a couple more like this that were just crazy like that. Like, this is a bunch of trees where some of these have nothing. This sand pit has a worm in it. A sandworm. So that's fun. So those are all our different tiles. And just in case you're curious, what's at the stack. So that is your stack of tiles. So there are quite a few, like I said. There's like 50 of them. And then the last thing, like I said, I was talking about the adjustment tiles, which I'm not going to take them all out and look at them. Yeah, so there's like a single tree, a pond. The backs of them are all just blank. There's different bunkers, and they're just reutilizing all the different images. So yeah, that was just single ones, so there's no connecting one. That, again, would have been kind of a neat thing I would have thought would have been neat. Like, they would have had, like, a couple of the bunkers or ponds, so you could have, like, had 2 or 3 of them together to make, like, oh, these 3 kind of have to go together, or these 2 have to go together to make, like, a full one. That would have been neat. Alright, so that is what we have for 18 holes. My revisit of this, I'll have to actually set up a game, play through it at some point, and do a video for that. But I'll probably add the expansion and all that. But yeah, you can check out the expansion set, which will be putting, winds, and coastlines. So it's adding some extra cool content in there. Check out that video. And then there's also the Course Architect, which is a sub-game, which is an 18 holes, like, side game. So it's a roll and write game, so we'll also be doing a video on that. So it's 2 other things you can check out if you enjoy this game. I don't think they listed that website anywhere. I didn't see it. Other than just probably in... Yeah, it's Seabrook Studios is the name of the company, so you can go right to their website, and they'll probably have the link on there for the course creator. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye.